Hi everyone, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today I want to make a fun fold card that I just think is absolutely so cute. I love the windmill. I absolutely love the windmill. This features a suite called Flowering Fields that's in the January through June mini calendar catalog. Let me show you the set. So if you get the suite, it's a really cool suite to invest in. You get a lot for your money. You get 2 stamp sets and 2 die sets. And we're going to be using a greeting from the Towering Tulips, and then we're going to be using the windmill from the tulip fields. We're also going to use some little X's that come in the flowering tulips. You also get these beautiful brushed brass butterflies. It comes with window pane ribbon. We're not going to be using that today, but you get that in the set, and then you get this designer series paper, and we're definitely going to be using that. So this suite is absolutely worth taking a look at. When I was younger, much younger, when I was actually way back when I was in high school, my dad, because he has a German heritage, his grandparents were German and they raised him. So when I was in high school, twice I was able to go to Germany with my dad, and both times we went through, I think both times we went through Holland. But anyway, I have always loved windmills and tulips and that kind of thing. So I wanted to feature that in our card today. And this is a corner tuck card. So this just tucks underneath that corner, just like that. Plenty of room to write. And there we have it. And this is a Highland Heather base that goes really well with this designer series paper. And if you ever wonder what colors do I put with this paper, always take a look at the catalog, because it will have listed colors that coordinate with that paper. So, and Highland Heather is one of the recommendations. So we're going to use that today. So let's talk about what we need to make this card. First, let me show you the stamp sets that we're going to be using. So we're going to be using Tulip Fields because we're going to need this windmill. And then we're going to use Flowering Tulips because we're going to use this Just Thinking of You today and these little X's. Then from the die set that comes with Tulip Fields, it's called, I see it's part of the Tulip Fields bundle that you can get. If you just want to get this and the die sets as a bundle, you could do that and not get the whole suite. But there's a die that will cut out the windmill that we're going to use. So we're going to be using that. And then I also pulled out my Stitch So Sweetly dies, and the third smallest one is what I used for the greeting layer on front of the card. So you would need that as well. You wouldn't have to, you could just cut a plain rectangle, but I like the scallop look with the tulips. So that's what we're going to use as far as our die cuts and stamps. And then we're going to be using, you'll need a piece of Highland Heather, and this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet that I cut on the short side in half at 4 1/4. This card lends itself beautifully to just going ahead and making 2, because if you cut the 8.5 by 11 sheet in half, you got 2, and then you're going to see to do this corner, it's easy just to go ahead and make 2. So this would be a definite easy card. You could make 2. You could change the greeting, put Just Thinking of You today on 1, and then you could put Love You So Much on the other. So you could use this Thank You. So you could make 2 cards that look basically the same, just change the greeting, and you got different cards. So this is 4.5 or 4 1/4 by 5 by 11. And we're going to do some more cutting and scoring with this. Then we have a piece of basic white that is 4 by 5 1/4. And here's the little scalloped piece that I cut out for the front. And then you're going to need two pieces of designer series paper, and I'm using the same design. You could use different designs if you wanted, but these are 2.5 by 4. But you want to make sure if you're using a pattern paper, because we're going to use one of these this direction and one of these this direction. So you need to take that into consideration when you're cutting your pieces. It's not as easy as just cutting it like this and using it. So when you cut it, make sure you think about your design, and if it's a pattern that matters, you want to make sure to cut those, one going one direction and one going the other, because we're going to need one that's vertical and one that's horizontal. Okay? Hope that makes sense. And then we're going to need a square of the Highland Heather that is 2 by 2. So I'm going to move the rest of this stuff out of the way, and we're just going to focus on these two pieces because we need to do some additional work. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer. And the first thing that we're going to do on this long piece is we are going to score it at 5.5. So we're basically scoring it in half. It's 11 inches long, so we're just going to score it at 5.5. And if you have the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, always remember the lighter one is your score, the darker one is your cutting blade. So just slide the cutting blade out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and score it 5.5. Now, it doesn't really matter what end because you can fold it accordingly, but off of one of the ends, we want to cut that remaining piece. So you got two 5.5 by 4.25 pieces. On one end, we want to cut off 2 3/4. So I'm just going to slide this down here, and I'm going to slide my scoring blade. We're done with that. And I'm just going to cut 2 3/4 off this end. Do not throw away this piece. This is going to be our mat for the front, so you're going to need that. Okay, and then I'm going to come in with this 2-inch square. Here's why I say you might as well make two. We've already talked about cutting the 8.5 by 11 in half, and that would give you 2 cards. But then this 2-inch square, we are going to take, and we're going to put in our cutter, and we're going to put it diagonally in our track because we want to cut this square in half on the diagonal. Now, if you've seen me do this before, if you've watched many of my videos, but when I cut something diagonal, I want to put my trimming blade so it's on the piece. I don't want to come into those points and try to cut down, because a lot of times it will curl or bend the point, and I find that I get a better cut if I start in the middle of the piece instead of trying to cut this way. So that gives us 2 pieces, so you could easily make 2 cards, okay? So I'm going to move our trimmer out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and work on this. We're going to be folding this. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it so that you can see. And then we're going to take the bone folder, and I'm just going to go over it to give it a good crease. Okay, so there's the base of our card all ready to go. So let's do our stamping. So we're going to bring in, I have my 5 1/4 by 4 piece of basic white. I have the scalloped rectangle, and then I have a scrap of whisper white that we're going to do our windmill on. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our stamping. So let's start with our little scallop piece, and because these are the polymer, they're not the rubber stamps. Let me show you that. They're the clear, which is the polymer. You'll get a better image if you have something. My countertop is a laminate countertop, but if I want a better stamped image, it's good to put some kind of foam, something with some give underneath when you're stamping with the polymer. This is just a piece of shipping foam that I use, and I'm just going to put that underneath there. And I'm using, for this, I'm using Highland Heather. And this is where I'm going to stamp the greeting. And this stamp just says, just thinking of you today. So I'm just going to ink this up. And then I'm going to stamp it on the right side because our windmill is going to cover the left side. So I'm just going to stamp this. I want to make sure I got ink. Okay. And then I'm just going to stamp this towards the right side. There. So we've got that part done. Now while I've still got my Highland Heather, I'm going to bring in our big sheet, our 5 1/4 by 4, and I'm going to bring in the Gorgeous Grape. And I'm going to start with the Gorgeous Grape. So with these little X's, there's 4 X's on the same stamp. So I started with my Gorgeous Grape. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 across the top. And then I'm going to come down the side. Now you'll want to clean your block off because we're going to go into the Highland Heather, and I don't want to mix my Gorgeous Grape into my Highland Heather. So I'm going to clean my block off. And I'm going to go ahead and close my Gorgeous Grape because we're done with that. So now I'm going to come in with the Highland Heather. I'm going to ink this up. And I started by doing one right in the corner. And I set this, I just put this so that it goes around the Gorgeous Grape ones. There's room between the X's, so you can stamp in between. So I just kind of played with it till I got it where I wanted it. I think I like it there. So I'm just going to put it down there. And then I did 1 going across the top, 1 going down the side. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm stamping, the stamps are in between the other ones that I've already done. And see how it mixes them? So you have the Gorgeous Grape and the Highland Heather. And then I'm going to do 1 down this side. Real easy to do with this stamp to go in between like that. So that just decorates up our corner. You don't have to do this. I just wanted to put something in the corner. Okay, so that gives us both of those done. And now the thing that we have left to do is our windmill. Okay, so for this I used Early Espresso. And I'm just going to stamp this down, just like that. And then I want to show you how I colored it. So I'm going to be using, I can get rid of my foam piece. I'm going to be using the light and the dark of the crumb cake to make our windmill. So I started with you can see here's the dark and the light, and they have 2 tips. They have a like a brush type tip, and then they have a pointed tip. For the dark, I'm going to use the pointed tip, and I'm going to put something underneath here, so because these will bleed through your cardstock, and just to protect my surface. So I'm going to bring a scrap that I have here. It doesn't matter what it is if you don't mind it getting some ink on it. So I'm going to use my pointed tip. And you can see these little kind of like scribble marks on the sides of the windmill that was in the stamp. I'm just going to go around those, just kind of go over those with this dark crumb cake. I am not being real particular about this. These are just scribbles, just right over those marks that are already in the stamp. And then I'm going to go ahead and color in the door with this dark crumb cake. Okay. And then I'm going to come back with the light crumb cake, and this time I'm going to use the brush tip. And I'm just going to, where I already used the dark, I'm just going to use the brush tip and come towards the middle. So from the left side, I'm bringing that through the dark and coming towards the middle. From the right side, again, I'm bringing it from the edge of the windmill into the center because I want to blend that darker color. Just like this. And then I went back underneath where this part is, this railing, and got the white under that. And you can blend it as much as you want. You could add more of the dark if you want, whatever you want it to look like. And I'm just going to blend a little bit more. And then you're going to put the die on there and cut it out. And I have one that's already finished. And I'm just going to bring it over, and that's the process I used. And here's my windmill that I've already cut out, and that's the one we're going to put on our card. Okay, so it's that easy. We've got all the components together. All we need to do now is put the card together. So we've got our card base. We got the piece that we cut off the end. We're going to need that. We've got our Highland Heather corner piece. We have our 2 pieces of designer series paper, and we have our greeting. So I'm going to start with the designer series paper, and I'm going to mount it, the one that goes horizontal with my pattern. If you don't have a pattern, yours really doesn't matter. So I'm going to mount this on this piece first, and I'm just going to come in here with my Stampin' Seal. And I usually line up on the long ends just because that helps me usually get it straight better than if I line up on the short ends. I want to kind of keep an eye so that I can get it centered. Okay. And then now I'm going to put it on this. So this piece is going to go just like that. So I'm going to put some Stampin' Seal on the back of this. I love this card because it's so pretty, but yet it's really easy and doesn't take much time. So I'm going to put that on there, press that down. Now I'm going to come in with our greeting, and I'm going to center this on this piece, and I'm just using Stampin' Seal. You could pop it up if you wanted it to stick up, but because I was going to stick up my windmill, I didn't necessarily want to stick this up. You definitely could, whatever you like. So I'm just going to center this on this piece. Like that. And then I'm going to come in with my basic white piece that goes on the inside. Now another thing that you could do, you could either put a white piece here to write the more message on, or you could use a coordinating designer series paper on the inside. I didn't do that. I liked mine plain, so I'm just going to use it the way I have it. Again, I'm just putting Stampin' Seal around each side. And I want my crosses to be in the upper right corner. Okay. And this folds over like that. Now, when you put this piece on, because we're going to center this, you only want to make sure that you only put adhesive on the left half. If you put it too far over, it's going to seal this shut. Okay? So we want to just put it on half of it. Okay. So I'm trying to make sure that I get that. Anything that I have adhesive on, I want to cover. Okay. I'm just going to press that down. And now I'm going to bring in some of the small Stampin' Dimensionals. And we're going to take our triangle, and this is going to match up to the bottom right-hand corner, just like that. So I'm going to put Stampin' Dimensionals on the back, and I'm using the little ones, and I'm just going to do 3. So I'm going to put 1 down in the corner, and then I'm going to just put 1 up towards the point. I'm going to move the paper. I'll open this up, and I'm just going to line this up. I put my corner down first, and then line my bottom edge, and then I line my right side edge. And so that the Stampin' Dimensionals is what gives it a lift so that you can tuck the front into that. Just like that. And we're going to go ahead and put on our windmill. And I put mine, I offset it. I didn't put it right even with the bottom of the white piece. I kind of offset it just a bit. All I did for this is I put 3 Stampin' Dimensionals. Here you can see where it bleeds through. The Stampin' Blends bleed through a little bit. That's why I suggested that you have a scrap under there so it doesn't get on your surface. So I'm just going to use 3. I did not put them on my blades of my windmill. I left that freestanding. And I'm just going to offset it a little bit. Just like that. And then I used the Gorgeous Grape sheer ribbon and just tied a bow. And I'm going to use a mini glue dot. And I'm just going to put that on the back here. Use my take your pick tool and just pick that up. And I just kind of put it at a slant just to dress up our corner fold. And then I'm going to come in with my butterflies, and I used 3. I used 2 of the little ones. I put 1 little one, and I like to put them at an angle just to make it look like they're flying. I put 1 on the right side of the white tag, and this one I put down in the purple, going the opposite, like they're fluttering. And then I used 1 of the larger ones just as a decoration in the middle of my bow. Just like that. Just press that down. And there you have it. A really simple card that could be, I mean, you could spit out 2 of these very quickly, very easily. But yet it really is going to let someone know that you care about them. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me show you. This is the one we just made. This is the one that I had made before the video. There you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll give this card a try. If you want to order any of the products you've seen here, if you fell in love with this windmill as much as I did, you can order them from my website, karensmith.stampinup.net. Be sure to check out my Facebook group, my Facebook page, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time I upload a new video. And I look forward to crafting again with you soon.